What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of English Turks, where I review your favorite Turkish series with and without English subtitles. And today we're talking about Cocukluk episode 3. Guys, just finished watching the episode, and oh my gosh, these kids are amazing actors. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but I'm just seeing some amazing kids. I don't know what theater school they've gone to or what training they've had, but these kids know how to act. You know how sometimes when you look at a certain actor or actress and they're playing a role and you don't really feel the character from them? I mean, these kids make it impossible to realize that they are actually other kids. They are not these kids out of the show. They are actual people, kind of like how Bambi sees Julefe. I just think these kids are amazing. And one kid that really stood out to me in this episode is Bambi's cousin, basically, her aunt's son. That kid, oh my gosh, I was just thinking to myself, does this kid really have this issue in real life? Because he played it so well. The rigidness of his body, the way he was constantly bringing his hand back to his head, and the shivers, like it was all so real. I find that these kids are amazing. Turkish children actors are amazing. I don't know. I hope they are being treated very well. I know I follow a couple of them on Instagram, and I think that they live great lives, but like they are amazing. There hasn't been a child that I have seen in any of these Turkish shows that don't do a great job. Even the really young ones, like look at Dudu, I think his name is. He does so good. Like, I mean, I know they film and crop and cut and pick the best parts, but I think these kids are just really talented kids. Turkish children actors are amazing, and this show really goes to show you how great they actually are at what they do. I could never act as well as they do. I mean, to give that emotion off, that's amazing. And so in this episode, we got to walk through Bambi's story and a little bit of Mavi, but mostly I think Mavi will probably stand out more in another episode. But in this episode, we got to walk with Bambi a little bit through her story. Her parents passed away. And honestly, I was on Bambi's side for basically the whole episode until that we actually met the aunt, because I thought this is her mother who's hidden her identity and hidden, not taking the child back. But I never accounted for that her aunt would be a twin. Like, I never accounted for that in the story. So sadly, the sister's body, Bambi's mom, was not found, or the dad, they were not found, and therefore it was difficult. And I think they made the right decision. Her aunt made the correct decision with not allowing that child to live in their home. The same thing, I think even her husband, he may not express it the right way, but obviously it would have to be one or the other. Bambi would probably have a very traumatic childhood if she were in the home with this child, and I really feel for the child that they have, and hopefully he'll be able to get some help. I mean, I know this is just acting and a story, but if the story was real, I would want that child to get a lot of help, because it's obvious that that child needs it, and that goes to show you how good the acting is. And so she kind of like experienced the same thing that Zenip experienced, finding themselves a good family, but they were not ready to go. And honestly, we know this is going to continue happening. I said it in the last podcast. They're going to constantly go through situations where they're almost adopted, but then they don't get adopted. And they're going to be with in that orphanage probably until they get older. If anything does change, I have a feeling that we're gonna see an episode that will go deeper into Mavi's story. Obviously, she had some issues with her father being abusive towards her, but then she had really good moments with her father, as do many abused children have. And so I think we're going to walk through her story. I think next episode with this girl all painted in blue, she's a friend of saying Mavi Mosey. We're going to walk through Mosey's story, but Mavi, this girl must be Mavi's friend or something. I don't know who she is. It sounded like she was saying auntie or cousin or something, but the translation wasn't very clear. I also feel like we're going to walk through Hayalet's story because I'm sure they're not going to let us continually wonder why he is not speaking. But one of my favorite parts of this episode this week was when they got in the car with Mavi, okay, Aishagul, and you know it's so funny. All the kids call her Pulianum. It's so funny because even Mavi calls her Pulianum. So when they both took Mavi in the car to drive to a faraway place, I think it's probably about more than 30 minutes away from where they are. They took her with them, and it's like having like a little family trip. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but they emphasized the seatbelt scene, and I think the reason why they did that, because I'm sure they got some lashback from the last episode when the kids were in the car and they didn't have seatbelts on. I mean, that was very apparent. It was even apparent to me that they didn't have seatbelts on. So I think the reason why they emphasized this little bit of a scene right there was because of that, and they made sure to emphasize having Mavi put on her seatbelt. I mean, Mavi did also have to put on her seatbelt when he left her out there by the park, put her back in the car, and then I think, did she put her seatbelt on then? I think so. It has to be that moment. I remember he helped Zainab put on her seatbelt. But there was a scene I remember when none of the kids had on their seatbelt. So I'm sure they got some lashback from that. But that little family trip, it looked like a family trip. It really did. And then he sent in the store to get water and buy other things. And honestly, it looked like a dad scolding his child. I'm sure like Mavi was happy in that moment, being able to experience that father-daughter type moment. And then when he held her hand and brought her to the car, I mean, honestly, how is he going to part from these kids for real? And also, I think we need to walk through the twin story, but not just that. We're also going to go back to Zainab's story, but I feel like, so just like Ashigul, I was a little caught off guard when he said these 10 kids. And so I'm assuming there are 2 kids that are not there, some kids that he knows maybe had a bad experience or something. We're going to learn about those 2 kids' stories, and that would give us our 10 kids, okay? So that would be Mavi, Zainab, Bambi, Mosey, Twin 1, Twin 2, Dodo, Hyalet, because remember, he was raised in the orphanage too and wasn't adopted, and then these 2 mystery kids that we have yet to meet. So that would be extraordinary to see how these stories develop. I absolutely love this show, guys, and I think that it's just amazing. I love that they are in a safe home. I think that's the best part, is that they're in a safe home with someone who actually cares about them, wants them to be happy, the whole thing. And I thought it was cute with Mosey having this little crush on this guy, and I'm happy that they didn't let the guy, the little boy, fall into that bullying mode, but that he actually was happy for the girls. But it was a great show. It was absolutely great. I feel like I missed some things, but I'll probably talk about it in the weekly update, which I will upload as soon as I finish uploading this one, and I'll talk to you guys in the next podcast.